Hello, listeners, and welcome to the Apple Pie Club, where every week we invite you to join us for a cozy and insightful conversation on life, spirituality, and stoic wisdom. So grab a slice of apple pie, get comfortable, and tune in with us as we share our thoughts, our experiences, and wisdom on navigating the twists and turns of life's journey. And whether you're seeking inspiration, a fresh perspective, or simply some heartfelt camaraderie, then you're in for a treat with the Apple Pie Club. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into this week's soul-nourishing discussion.
Hi, Tanya. So good to be back with you again this week. I'm really excited about this week's topic. And it comes from the saying that we know so well, as a man thinks, so is he. So as we mentioned last week, we're going to explore this topic from a philosophical and a spiritual perspective. And so I'll begin. And it's really interesting that this title, As a Man Thinks, So Is He, is influenced actually by a verse in the Christian Bible. And it comes from the book of Proverbs, chapter 23, verse 7. I haven't said that for a long time, actually. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And I love this idea that we can think with our mind and we can think with our heart. And I'm sure you've heard this many times where people have said, you just need to get that thought, you need to drop it 10 inches from the mind to the heart.
Yeah.
And so that's what this statement is referring to, actually, that it's a genuine belief. It's a core self-concept, a core belief that we have within our hearts. And that's when, as we believe in our hearts, so we become. So for anyone who's familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza's work and many others, actually, he has scientifically proven these results to back up this old quote from the book of Proverbs. And the mind produces thoughts and the heart produces the emotions. And that's where, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. It's the thought and the emotion that produces the result. So this is how we change our lives. This is how we change our futures. We are today a result of everything we thought and believed about ourselves yesterday. And tomorrow we will be everything we think and believe about ourselves today. So we can change everything that we think and believe about ourselves. And I love that ability to know that we are not fixed, we are not stuck. So I know that many of you who are looking at this have probably watched the movie or read the book, The Secret. And so this is a concept that is not new, that is really out there, that people know a lot about, but I'm really excited to be talking about this with you today.
Beautiful, beautiful. And it's interesting because I'm quite drawn to the book by James Allen, As Man Thinketh. And that's what, when we decided on this subject, that's what immediately came to mind, where he very much considers human life and one's destiny and how that's actually influenced by the quality of our thoughts. And therefore, without the connection to the heart, but similarly with the quality of our thoughts, that actually impacts the quality of our life. And when I first went on the journey of practical philosophy, this was one of the statements I very much practiced and embraced in my daily life. And it was really powerful. It really started shifting and being mindful of what I was telling myself, my inner dialogue. And also then when you take it further into the philosophies of Buddhism and Hinduism, this statement's also true in those philosophies, in terms of taking that statement and putting it into contemplation so that you can really get to feel and understand the interplay between our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions, and the fabric, of reality itself. So I think, whoever's listening, no matter what they believe in, whether they believe in God, Buddhism, Hinduism, mindfulness, just the soul, as we've said before, it really is irrelevant.
Yeah.
But applying this concept practically to our life, and when we do this, when we are mindful of our thoughts and how we perceive something, that's playing out in front of us, right? It most certainly can change how we react and act in certain situations. So, and I find it quite interesting when we change our thinking and our reaction, it then connects with our heart. It's actually interesting that can work in both the positive and negative. You know, if you go back and recall a partner that you once went out with and how you initially thought they were so cool and so lovely, and then your thinking changed and you changed your opinion of them as well. So I think, you know, in some aspects, to stay in love, you've got to be in control of what you're thinking about other people as well, based on the experiences that you go through.
Yeah. I
So,
love, I just heard yesterday, reinforced actually something that we all know, that 80% of what we experience in our life, what we see as outside events,
yeah,
actually are there because of our internal thinking, 80%.
yeah,
So everything really that we are experiencing, and we
yeah,
can blame others, we can blame situations, and that doesn't excuse other people's behavior,
yeah,
okay? But it does mean that we have to look at ourselves and we have to say, what is in me that caused that to show up?
absolutely. Because it actually leaves an imprint in our lives, right? It impacts our happiness, our fulfillment, everything.
Yeah.
Is very much influenced by what we think. I
Yeah.
just love this statement so much, and it's definitely guided my life and
Yeah.
made me more mindful of what I think, and you know how that's impacting my destiny.
Yeah, exactly. And how, when we become aware, how we can change our destiny, how we can
100%.
how we can change our future. And
Yeah,
it starts with awareness.
yeah,
It starts with, okay, so this keeps showing up in my life. This is the pattern.
yeah,
What keeps showing up? What kind of people keep showing up? And why? Why do they keep showing up? What is my self-concept? What is my core self-concept? I recently discovered that I I contracted with myself when I was about 8 years old. I was walking down the passage, and I'm not sure if I told this story in our last podcast, but I'll just be very quick because this is really relevant to what we're talking about today. I was walking down the passage. I came out of my bedroom. I was about 7 or 8 years old. Came out of my bedroom and I turned left and I saw my dad coming up the passage. And even by the age of 7 or 8, I was terrified of my dad. I knew the pain that could be inflicted upon me when I made a mistake. Okay.
yeah,
So I said to myself, let me look down, let me not look up. And if I don't look at him, he may not see me and I won't get into trouble. And so I kept walking down the passage. The amazing thing is, he walked straight past me. He didn't see me, and I didn't get into trouble. So that action reinforced my belief, my core belief. And I learned very quickly in life to hide in my own skin. That was my self-concept. That was my belief. As a man but thinks in his heart, believes in his heart, so is he. I believed I needed to be invisible, and it was not safe to be seen. So as a result, I stayed invisible. And the pattern was, every time I got a promotion at work, I self-sabotaged because somewhere within me was this little 7-year-old girl saying, remember, it's not safe to be seen. So that's how we can have these imprints
yeah,
on our heart, in our life, that start with a thought. And those patterns reinforce those thoughts. They provide evidence to us that that thought is true. And we keep living out these thoughts until we get that awareness, and we need to change them.
What age were you when that happened?
When I first created the thought was about was about 7 or 8 years old.
Wow, so
Now,
it's
I
really
don't
ingrained in your whole life.
totally ingrained in my life.
Yeah,
So much so that I wasn't even aware that that thought was there. It was an ingrained neuro pathway. That's what we spoke about in our last episode, if listeners want to go to that. But an ingrained neuro pathway that I did not even know existed, but I was playing out that thought pattern the whole time. And I've done a lot of work in unlayering the onion and peeling things back to get to the point where I realized, this is why this keeps happening to me. This is why. And, we don't have to do all of this work on our own. We can, well, it takes a long time. Otherwise, we have people to help us to recognize what these thought patterns are. And all you need to do is change it.
It's interesting as well, isn't it? Sometimes it's just like, just take some time out, rest, and look at what situations in your life keep reoccurring.
Yeah.
Because they're not by accident.
No.
They're reoccurring because of your thought patterns and how you're interacting with life and what you're allowing to happen based on your thinking. And it's like you say, like you said earlier, your past life was based on your past thinking. Tomorrow, what happens, even today, from this moment on, is going to be determined by what you actually think.
So our future can be our past.
Yeah.
Or our future can be something totally new.
Yeah. That's a nice way to summarize it, really. Are you going to let your past keep becoming your future?
Yes, exactly.
If it's not working for you, then it's time to change.
Yes.
Yeah, it's time to look at other ways of thinking.
Other ways of thinking. Yeah.
Thinking and doing the connection between the mind and the heart.
Yeah. And there's so many patterns. There's the I'm invisible pattern. There's I'm not enough. There's I'm alone. There's it's not safe to be seen. I'm not safe. There's I'm too much, all of the opposite extreme. So there are all of these patterns, and it's really important to be aware of how we show up, because the way to change that is not just to reframe. That was an old NLP model that was used 15 years ago. I know I was trained as a coach in the old NLP model, and it was just reframe, so from I'm unsafe to I'm always safe. Well, we're not always safe. And the brain knows that, and the mind knows that, and the body knows that, which is why, to say from I'm not enough to I'm enough. Well, today, 80% of women still believe they're not enough. Okay. Yeah. So what really was the missing aspect of the I'm enough movement? It was not necessarily that we just speak the opposite. We have to come up with a growth statement. Okay. I take responsibility, and I have the power to keep myself safe. Right. And so we have to come up with a statement that actually we can grow into and develop. And this is and believe in our heart. And that's when we start to change our patterns and our futures.
Yeah. Love it. Love it.
I love the fact that you mentioned the book, actually, which I'll just have to show you. I had a good laugh when you mentioned that, because I'd forgotten about it.
It's a lovely book, isn't it?
It's a great little book. And I can tell you that I'm trying to find out when I did this. There should be a copyright here, because I would have put a copyright in here. It says me, and I didn't. But okay, so I decided to translate that book because it's written in Old English. And I said to my son once, read this book, As a Man Thinketh, So Is He. And he didn't want to read it because of the Old English language. And so I said to a good friend of mine, read this book, it's great. And he didn't want to read it because of the Old English language. And so I decided I'm going to rewrite it. And if a book is over 100 years old, there's no copyright on it anymore. So I took it, and I even changed the title, although I give the credit in the book to exactly what it is, because I added a few things of my own as well. If you want to change your footprint, change your shoes. And Beautiful. It's just an adaptation or rewrite of As a Man Thinketh, So Is He. Thought and character, thought and circumstances, the effect of thought on our body. I can tell you that thoughts change our DNA. And
body keeps a score.
The body keeps score. I was telling somebody about that book just the other day. Yeah. And the title of this book is exactly that. If we want to change our footprint, just change your shoes. If we want to change our future, just put on a new belief, but really, one that we can adapt as our own, one that we really want to believe, and one that we can create a new self-concept, core self-concept.
And Is that book available as a download?
It is. It's available on Amazon, actually.
Okay, so we'll put all the links in there if somebody wants to have a look at that.
Yeah.
I'm going to get it. It looks amazing.
It
So
really was fun to do. It was a fun, and at the end of each chapter, there's a little application as well. People can say thought and purpose. What's the application? So yeah, it was just a fun little project that I had. But another book that I love on this concept as well is Florence Scovel Shinn and her book, The Game of Life and How to Play It. And as she says, our words are our wand. And so there's always this dichotomy, one could say, is what comes first? Is it our thoughts that create our words, or is it our words that create our thinking? And actually, in the end, they go side by side. As we think, so we speak. As we speak, so we think.
Yeah.
Probably, as Marissa Peer always says, it's the pictures that come first. So that means our thoughts. Our thoughts create these pictures, and then we speak. But our word is our wand. And so we really need to watch, as you mentioned, Tanya, our self-talk. What are we thinking? What are we speaking? Right? Because that definitely determines our future.
So what do you think in terms of your feelings? And your feelings driving your thought. Because when you've got, so say, for example, you didn't have a good relationship with your dad, right? And all of a sudden he appears in front of you. Would you say that feeling towards him would trigger the thought?
Absolutely. So two things come to mind immediately. First of all, as Joe Dispenza talks about, and many others, but I'll mention Joe Dispenza as one. As he said, our thoughts put the energy out there, and our feelings bring it back. Okay, so our thoughts and feelings are connected. In fact, Ray Behan from Think and Grow Education, he works a lot and he speaks a lot on the solfeggio frequencies and how they change the music. Music changes our DNA. And actually, so even these, our thoughts actually can cause our DNA, our body to become sick. As we've mentioned, body keeps score. So the way to change that, and he has some great meditations actually, where you can actually change your DNA by changing your emotions. First of all, changing your emotions and your feelings about life and life's events. So yeah, I love that concept that actually our thoughts and emotions are not disconnected. They are interlinked. And that's exactly what a trigger is. When somebody comes into our life or a situation comes into our life, if you think about road rage, somebody cuts you off in the traffic, you get really mad, okay, or I accidentally cut somebody else off in the traffic. In fact, the other day, I'll talk about a real life example. I was waiting for somebody to come out of a parking spot. I put my indicator on that I'm just waiting for this person to come out of a parking spot. Well, that person was taking a little bit too long to come out of their parking spot so I could come in it, and the person behind me went ballistic. After about 2 minutes, he decided this was too long. So he hooted at me. I mentioned he could go past because I could see there was nothing coming. And as he went past, he let me have it, okay, swearing out the window. And so I know that situation was not because I made him wait a minute, okay, while I was waiting for a parking. I triggered him. So somewhere in his background, he felt he was not seen. He felt he was rejected. He felt he was abandoned. All of those memories from the past came to that event. And all of his emotion came out to that event. So much so that it was next to the cafe I was meeting my friend at. And when I got out of the car, this strange man came up to me and said, he apologized to me. He said, "I'm so sorry. That was unacceptable. You were treated so badly." And I just said, "Thank you. I appreciate you telling me that." But so that's what happens when we're triggered. It brings up the emotion from the memory of the past. And yeah, so it's really, and that's why it's really good to deal with those as they come up. A wonderful friend of mine once said, it's not an upset, it's a setup. You're being set up to actually deal with something from your past. And if you don't deal with it now, when you get upset now, it'll just go back down again. Because we're good at bearing things. It'll go back down again, but it will come up again in the future. Because as soon as you get an upset, it means it's come up, you need to deal with it. And Dr. Caroline Leaf always says, when you bring something up, when it goes back down again, it actually goes back down stronger. So if it comes up, you can actually reinforce that this is evidence for you and it goes back down stronger, or you can decide, I'm going to change this, work with it to change it.
So Sky, I'm loving this conversation, but I want to go back to something you said earlier, which was about, when you became an NLP coach 15 years ago, as I did, right? Then became a hypnotherapist. All great stuff, all great stuff. When you look at a statement as a small little task, like an affirmation, affirmations, I'm not dismissing them, they're powerful, but really when you go a level deeper into a more of a growth statement, it becomes even more powerful, doesn't it? So if any of our listeners are looking at changing the language that they're using to change their thoughts, because now we're moving into language, because if we want to change our thinking, it all starts with, well, what are we saying to ourselves? So say, for example, I think I mentioned this in the first episode. I can remember my mother saying that my brother was naturally intelligent and I had to work hard at it. And she didn't say it just once. She said it a few times. Now, I didn't realize the impact of that until I got older. And I think, wow. So I've always worked really, really hard to achieve anything in life. And so one of the statements that I had was, I have to work hard. I have to work hard. And in order for me to be worthy. And I thought, that affirmation might be, I've got to work hard. But all I'm actually doing is, making myself exhausted.
Exactly.
So I've changed that.
Great.
I am on a transitional journey, increasingly recognizing my worth and expanding my capacity to attract abundance effortlessly with each passing day. And I have that statement written out. So when I'm brushing my teeth, I've got that statement. It's not just a, woohoo, change this and change your life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Love that. I love that.
Would you like to add at all to that growth statement?
I'll just reinforce the idea of what you're doing is you are speaking a deeper truth power statement. So affirmations, the I am, they're fantastic because rather speak that than what we used to say, I'm not enough, I'm not important, I'm not as good as somebody else, okay, I'm not valuable, I'm not worthy, I have to work hard to earn my money. I remember, my mom used to say, us Sinclair women are working women, it's ingrained in our DNA, and I tell you the most amazing thing, I'd love to spend some time talking about this idea of how things are ingrained in our DNA, and if I could just take 2 minutes before we finish. Think about our generation of women and what we're carrying around in our DNA. And we're carrying around the struggles of our mothers and our grandmothers simply to have the most fundamental basic rights. And I'm no radical feminist, I can assure you, but the right for women to vote in the US only came into the Constitution in 1920. So my mom's 93 at the moment. Sorry, she's still alive, still lives on her own. And she's, this was ingrained in their DNA, in her DNA, the struggle for the fundamental rights. In New Zealand, it was the first country to acknowledge a woman to vote in the Constitution. That took place in 1893, which seems like a long time ago, but it was during the lifetime of my grandmother. So in the UK, teachers were not allowed to get married right up to 1944. Okay. And in 1950s, my mom was a nurse. And when she married my dad, she had to give up her job because married women couldn't be nurses. They couldn't work. They couldn't nurse. So, when you think about it, and right up to the 1970s, I think it was 1974 in America, women could not go and open up a bank account without a man co-signing. This was the mindset. These are the beliefs. These are core beliefs that we have in our DNA. And so these deeper truth growth statements, they're actually working at a deeper level. They're working with our DNA. And I'd love to, maybe another podcast, Tanya, we can talk about the solfeggio frequencies and, how music changes our DNA. Really, music changes our DNA, and it's the frequency of miracles. But, music changes our DNA, and we are walking around with the DNA and the thought beliefs systems of the struggles of our mothers and our grandmothers. And so what you are doing, or you have created that deeper truth growth statement. We're having to create these statements that we are growing into, and we're realizing that we missed out on some capabilities and some skills because we grew up with those old beliefs as well. So as we grow into that, we're also developing new capabilities and new skills.
What's quite interesting, like the message that I received from my mother was so different to what I achieved and what my brother did. So it didn't actually impact my success. It was underlying there. It's still a belief I had about myself, even though it didn't impact it at all.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is.
But you still believed you had to work harder to achieve what you achieved. That, to me now, I'm really working with this idea of co-creating with spirit. I'm a spirit being who's come to this earth to inhabit this body for some time. And so this whole idea of co-creating with spirit, that really I need to trust more that the universe has my back. And so to allow for that as well, that yes, we do our part, but the universe has our back.
And that's going to be a lovely conversation when we get into that one.
Yeah.
Be very interesting. All right. Well, we talked today about as a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. Now, we will probably carry on this conversation even further because there's lots to talk about on this one statement in itself. But for now, before we move on to our meditation, is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I think that it's, I've loved this conversation. I could talk forever on this conversation.
I know.
On this topic.
We're definitely going to put your book in there for any listener
Thank you.
to download and read. Okay, so thank you, listeners. We're going to finish with our meditation, and the meditation is also split out as a separate meditation if you want to use it at any point in your day, morning, night, whatever. As many times as you can listen to the meditation, it ingrains it deeper into your DNA, your subconscious mind. Okay, shall we begin?
Yeah.
Close your eyes and take a deep breath in, filling your lungs with air. And exhale slowly, letting go of any tension or stress you may be holding on to. And as you continue to breathe deeply, allow your mind to settle and your body to relax. Feel yourself becoming more present in this moment, letting go of any distractions or worries from the day. And as you let go, I want you to reflect on the words, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." And consider the profound truth contained within these words. The idea that our thoughts have the power to shape our reality, to shape our actions, and ultimately to shape our destiny. Think about the motion of moving a thought from your mind and into your heart. Bridging the gap between intellectual understanding and heartfelt belief. Imagine the transformation that occurs when your thoughts are infused with the authenticity and conviction of your heart's deepest truths. Consider how this understanding can empower you to take control of your own destiny and create the life you deserve. And remember, our words are our wand. Recognize the importance of aligning your thoughts and your words with your deepest aspirations and values, your passions and what you want to achieve, who you want to become, and the life you want to live. And as you continue to breathe deeply, visualize yourself embracing a mindset of authenticity, fulfillment, and happiness. See yourself stepping into your true purpose and potential, guided by the wisdom in your heart and the clarity of your mind. And rest in this space. And over the next week, we invite you to carry this sense of clarity, authenticity, and empowerment with you. And as you return to the present moment, knowing that you have the power to shape your own destiny and create the life you deserve through your thinking, through the words that you use, through the conversations that you have with yourself, through the inner dialogue and the comments that you make. They are in your control. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes and take a moment to bring yourself back into your surroundings. Thank you for listening to us. We are the Apple Pie Club.